To learn more about the abortion bill currently being discussed in Guatemala, we are being joined by Nancy Medina. She's a lawyer who specializes in gender issues. Nancy, thank you so much for joining us. The Guatemalan Congress is currently discussing a bill to punish women who suffer miscarriages with jail sentences. Drawing on your legal expertise, is it possible to charge a woman for something that she cannot control?
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. And of course, as a lawyer, I could say that criminal law penalizes behaviors. And of course, if we talk of an event that is caused for natural cause, of course, not the responsibility of the woman. What happened with Bill 5272 is that it increased the requirement, the medical requirements to present in the case of a natural abortion, and also used abstract language that would penalize obstetric violence. It all goes with it doesn't recognize the inter-American and global human rights systems, and it goes against, well, for example, the case Artavia Murillo versus Costa Rica, where the Inter-American Court has established that the absolute protection of the embryo cannot be claimed voiding other rights, special women's rights, and that a ban on abortion that doesn't respect women's rights would violate the convention. So we're talking about the criminalization of women, and we're talking with a law of this kind. We're talking about the responsibility of the states, of course.
So some say this is just another step towards criminalizing women, which you actually mentioned. So I'm not going to ask you if you agree that women are being criminalized. I'm going to ask you, why are women being criminalized?
Well, women are being criminalized in Latin America, forbidden their human rights to access to abortion and access to sexual and reproductive rights. And this criminalization also affects to one of the more vulnerable groups in society as poor women, because not only because the criminalization, but because of they doesn't have access to their rights to health, for example. So yes, we are talking about criminalization, and we are talking about that the human rights of women is being denied.
Now, some countries in Latin America have moved forward in protecting women's sexual and reproductive rights, although there's still much to achieve. What are the main obstacles women are facing towards Latin America, towards getting full rights?
Well, actually, there's a lot of issue in this. For example, we have the position of the church that it's involved in public policies and putting moral issues before the women's rights. And we have also the not recognitions of women's rights to access to their reproductive rights. The situation in Latin America is different from Europe and North America, because the movement of feminism here in Latin America is a new movement compared with what happened in Europe and the United States, because in the 60s and the 70s, when they were fighting about women's rights, we were talking about dictatorship and going against it. So, but for example, what happened here in Argentina is totally positive, because despite of we don't have the law approved by the Chamber of Senate, we visualize the movement of feminism in the country and in the region. So it's important for women's rights and for human rights.
So Nancy, in your opinion, why do most governments in the region still have such a hard time promoting and approving public policies regarding abortion, and do not acknowledge how dangerous clandestine abortions are?
Well, actually, the countries in Latin America have some of the most restricted reproductive health laws and policies in the world, especially in the area of abortion. So in part, this is to the not recognizing the reproductive freedom as a fundamental right, as a fundamental human right. So basically, it has two reasons of. One is the moral reason that is based on the role of the church in public policy, as we talked before, and also about the patriarchy doesn't recognize the right to women to make a decision of their own bodies. We have a system that is based on what what a woman should do, and their whole system that keeps oppressed women, especially in Latin America, for decades, for centuries, is really difficult to fight for.
Now, you're saying it's really difficult to fight for, but I want to ask you to end this on a positive note. What advice, as an attorney, as a social activist, do you give to women throughout the continent who are fighting to get these rights recognized?
Yeah, well, I was lucky to live in Argentina when this law was on the debate on the Chamber of Senate. And what I can say is, despite of the law wasn't approved, the whole society like shows the approve of and the recognition of sexual and reproductive rights for women. And here in Argentina, we have access to like all the laws about sexual diversity and sexual genders, where we are in a progressive position. So, despite we don't have the law yet, the whole feminist movement and the whole human rights movement have shown that exists and that it's here to fight again to get our human rights.
Thank you so much for that. We appreciate your insight on this, Nancy Medina.
Thank you.